and they're like, what is
Never heard of
this?
sugar in your soil.
Okay, so most of the time, the people
Control
that
your
they're,
emotions,
that
not
they've
break
been
under pressure.
painted
All this
is
stuff is
We are one of the very few
meditating,
businesses or situations
you know,
where you
so
can shop
really
great
online.
tips already off the bat, and we're just starting.
Go to Top Box.
Hello and welcome to Healthier Habits, a podcast that discusses challenges and solutions when it comes to health and wellness, as well as connecting you to some local resources in Chicago. My name is Cassandra Zumba.
And I am Yakwache and will be your host. We are the Policy, System, and Environmental Coordinators here at the Chicago Partnership for Health Promotion, a program from the Office of Community Engagement and Neighborhood Health Partnerships at UIC.
Today with us, we have a very special guest. We have here Elizabeth Berkeley. She was born and raised in Chicago, has experience in supporting capacity building of 4 non-for-profit across Colorado, teaching nutrition, cooking, gardening, and a master's in public health. She is excited to share her knowledge of educational programming, her experience building collaborative system, and her passion for food justice in this role. Welcome.
Hello, Elizabeth. How are you doing today?
Thanks for having me. I'm doing well.
Before we get into it, describe your ideal weekend for us.
Whoa. These are the kind of questions you have to prep me for.
Yes, I should have let you know.
Ideal weekend. You know, I like every weekend to be different.
Okay.
I like having a little bit of time at home doing nothing, rotting my brain with reality TV. Then I also like time to cook and make something actually delicious, either for breakfast or dinner. I like time to do some cleaning and organizing and also hanging out with friends, ideally outside, eating some delicious food.
I was with you till you said the cooking part, but yeah, I understand the hanging out with friends and just having time to just rot in bed or on the couch. That's also a way to go to too.
Yeah, I feel like the cooking is more Monday to Friday thing, and then weekends it's like, you know, go out, have a little snack here and there. But yeah, same. I like the rotting part because there's so much movement during the week.
Yes.
You just want to do nothing.
Just do nothing sometimes. You got to be intentional about that doing nothing.
Yes.
Honestly,
Yeah, time your snacks.
Yeah.
The show you want to
And you
watch.
appreciate it differently.
Yeah.
But when you're like, I am intentionally sitting here doing nothing and I'm going to enjoy it and not feel guilty about it.
Exactly. That's our version of meditation.
Yeah, totally.
That's a good one.
You got to put a positive spin on it.
Mindful.
Yeah, mindful.
So, Chicago Girls Food.
Yeah.
Give us a little background of the history of the organization, how it started, and just your involvement in it.
Very excited to talk about it. Chicago Girls Food was founded in 2020. It was a direct correlation to the pandemic. A collaborative of nonprofits and individuals who were doing nutrition education, cooking education, gardening education, sort of wanted to figure out how to maintain those efforts while students were at home. So the Grow Kit was created. They put together fabric grow bags with soil and seedlings that could be sent home with families, and then were able to continue that education remotely. The feedback, the impact was so positive that when students went back to school, teachers and families said, keep doing this. So the collaborative figured out how to maintain those efforts even when students were back in the classroom.
Right.
What this really allowed is for schools with gardens to continue that education with students at home and with their families. But also what it allowed is for a lot of schools without school gardens to still teach this important and valuable experience. With feedback, that is always an important part of any programming. With participant feedback, they said, we want more, we want you to do more. So it has evolved to be over 4,000 kits that get distributed through schools, community events, churches, libraries, and then also customized home garden installations that we really are intentional about finding people that are going to maintain it and support it and love it and utilize it and have been able to then provide them a full garden setup. I started in fall of 2022 when all of this was pretty established to really help create systems for sustainability. How do we make sure that we can do this when everybody's jobs are sort of reverting back to normal? quote unquote normal. So it's been a really wonderful year and a half, and I'm excited to have now more established systems so that we can start to expand when now that we have more capacity to do so.
Yeah, I think this is a great program just because since we're in such an urban area, sometimes garden kind of falls back or like doing any kind of farming just because it's not commonly seen here because it's just such a urban city area. So having that experience, like I said, teaching children young how to, have those skills to hopefully within age, they can create something of their own. But for sure, having that little seed planted, for them to start their own garden is very important. What kind of challenges did you come across when you were trying to reach out to organizations or people wanted to participate?
No challenges in interest yet. What it actually really showed us is that people want to garden. And what the grow bags and grow kits have really faced and really understood is that people want to garden and that there are just so many barriers, including the idea that they don't have enough space, financial ability, time to put into it, and then knowledge. And so what the grow kits have actually been able to do is reduce a lot of those barriers. And so interest has yet to be a challenge. The biggest challenges we face is actually our capacity to meet the interest, and our capacity to sort of maintain those relationships and communication about what we have available and how we provide it.
Yeah, I feel like, at least for me, my experience, I feel like it is a little intimidating trying to learn how to farm or how to garden, all of that, just because you just see so many different information online. Do you water this plant too much? You water this a little too, not enough. And there's a lot of conflicting information that I'm like, you know what? I'll leave that to professionals or my mom or whatever. Somebody knows a little bit better than I do. But yeah, having that, an organization kind of guide you through that's very helpful.
Yeah. And what I hear a lot is that people, they say they don't have a green thumb. And what I tell them is it's about finding the right plant for you, honestly, because I'm also somebody who doesn't have a green thumb, and I'm the director of a nonprofit that supports gardening. So I really emphasize that, like, for me as an individual and my personality, I need a plant that actually needs water every day because I need it to be a part of my routine. Otherwise, I'm going to forget about it. I also need it to be near a sink because I'm really lazy, right? I'm not going to walk across the room to water this plant. I need it to be like nearby so that it's easy to grab that water to make sure it has what it needs. So those are the sort of things I often emphasize with people that are like, I killed a plant that people say is impossible to kill. And I'm like, it's probably because you actually need a part of a routine. Maybe you overwatered it. Maybe you underwatered it. Maybe you overwatered it 1 week and then underwatered it the next week, right? Like it gets really complicated and confusing because there's so much out there. So you really just got to find what works for you.
Yeah, no, I love the honesty. Like, put it by this one because I'm lazy, because it's honestly something that I would do too. I'm like, I need something that is kind of convenient.
And also, it's okay if a plant dies, right? Like, that's actually, for me, a wonderful part of the experience is like, it goes into the soil. Those nutrients are still really helpful. So you plant something else in that pot, and that maybe that soil is healthier for it.
It's part of the learning process.
It's a part of the learning process.
You should say that to how many plants that I have. But I wanted to really touch more on the grow bags. Like, working here, I've discovered that the soil in Chicago is horrible.
Yes.
It's not meant for growing stuff. So I'm assuming the grow bags kind of help with that in terms of like soil pollution. Can you touch a little bit upon that?
Yes. So if you're unfamiliar, soil in Chicago, especially on the south and west sides, is contaminated from history of oppression, racism, industry, pollution. And so a lot of it is actually not that healthy to grow in. Or ideally, you're growing things in the soil to help improve the composition, but maybe not eating it. And so one of the things the Grow Bags has done is really allowed us to provide people with healthy soil and compost that help their gardens thrive and also help their healthy systems.
Yeah.
So that, is a really important point. And that's one of the many reasons we like the fabric grow bag. It's also really light. So if you're a renter, it's easy to move with. It also is more accessible for like humans. You can put it on tables, you can put it on the ground, you can put it on grass, on wood, on concrete. So it really helps alleviate some of those challenges that are often faced with gardening.
I was reading a little bit around your website. They come in different sizes as well. Can you go into the different size? Because I was thinking grow bags are just like tiny single plant one, but I'm assuming there's different ranges of sizes on there.
Yes. And I think at this point, pretty much any size you want. We primarily do 1 gallon grow bags, which are the small ones. Those are the ones we distribute in schools and at churches and libraries and community events. Partially because they're really easy to travel with. They're much easier to pack and deliver. But also they're really kid friendly. So any age can really feel ownership over this tiny bag that's theirs. It has little handles this year so they can carry it. And then, and those small ones are really great because they can be used inside or outside. And they are good for things like herbs and lettuces and smaller produce like radish. And then the next thing that we primarily do is our 5-gallon bags. This is our most popular home garden setup is we actually provide 12 5-gallon bags. So it's essentially 12 plants.
Okay.
And each bag gets a different plant. And those can grow everything from tomatillos, tomatoes, radishes, peppers, hot peppers, beans, beets. And so we're still experimenting with what can go in the 5-gallon, but they seem pretty versatile. And then for our home gardens, we also do an 100-gallon bag. And those typically we provide around 10 plants to. And those are really giant. Those are a lot harder to move with.
And I would assume, how much space do you need for an 100-gallon?
It's probably similar to like a 4-foot by 4-foot size, like bed. It's pretty big. Yeah, but it is like raised above the ground. So also a little bit more, accessible. But yes, you need a lot more space for it. And then, the other thing we really like about the bags is they're really porous. And so you don't get overly watered soil. What actually happens is you sometimes need to water more, because it's so porous, but what that means is that root rot is less likely to happen, which is then even better for your plants because you're not going to be overwatering it. So that's why even in big gardens, you could do a wood bed, you could do a metal bed, and sometimes those are maybe a little bit longer lasting, but we really like the fabric because it's a little bit cheaper. It allows for that water to go through it.
So you say you run a pretty big organization because there's a lot of demand in here. So how do you come across with all these organizations? What is your way of getting to everyone, I guess?
So the organization started as a collaborative. It really was meant to be this decision-making group. And what that's really done in an amazing way is allowed for no duplication of anything. We are not redoing something that someone else is doing. We're going to lift those people up and we're going to find the gaps in the system and we're going to fill those. Yeah. And so the collaborative together, they have partnerships in various schools, in various community organizations, including churches and libraries. And so we really rely on that collaborative to decide where our kits go, and where our home gardens go. And what this does is it really ensures we are intentional about prioritizing communities with lower food access. What this means is that we are more equitable in reaching schools that may not have the resources to just Google online grants for gardens or free garden programs. We can say, hey, we are here and we want to support you. What do you need from us? And that's true for our home gardens too, right? We are very then intentional about who receives a home garden because it's a lot of time and effort and money on our part. So we want to make sure that people are going to thrive with it.
Okay.
So it's very collaborative based. I don't do any of the decision making. I just do all of the execution.
So if we were interested in partnering with you, we want a home garden. What would the process be with the home garden installations?
Well, this year we're full.
Okay. Oh, in the future reference.
For future, you just email us. Depending on how you heard about us, depending on your space, on your needs, on your capacity, then sort of influences whether we actually will go forward with it. We do make sure everybody completes a request form, and then they are required to watch an orientation. And then we do a site assessment. So it's definitely a process to receive one. And again, this ensures that we have people who are dedicated and ready. The other thing that we're really intentional about is never just giving somebody a garden and saying, good luck, bye. We always support past participants while bringing in new participants. And so that makes it a little bit harder for us to support everybody that applies to new gardens, but it ensures that once they are in our system, they feel supported throughout that journey. So we've now had home garden participants be with us for 3 years and ask for either more garden or just soil or just seedlings or whatever it is that they need, and we can provide it.
Oh, sorry. I was like, I assume you're not going to learn everything about gardening within a year. So it's really good that you're still there helping them along because, maybe you want to change up whatever you're planting, and then that's a whole different other process.
Yeah, exactly.
And these are individuals that are interested in home, or is it home gardening a more like elaborate term, or is it just an individual that are interested in home gardening?
It's an individual. We put it in your backyard. We put it on your porch. We put it in your front yard. We put it on your patio. We do have some people who maybe have like a lot near their house that will put it there, but they are the one requesting it. And then they are the ones then responsible for maintaining it. And again, that's like sometimes what happens with community gardens is they have a lot of interest right up front, but they don't have the maintenance. They don't have someone to help maintain it. And so it gets kind of messy. It gets confusing who's responsible for it. We also know a lot of organizations that are supporting the community garden space. So we really did want to focus on the individual journalism. One cool thing we're doing this year, though, is really trying to be more intentional about block level gardening. So how do we get 5 houses on the same block, all gardening, that then can share harvest, can share knowledge, can share, vacation time and take care of each other's gardens. Because if you're on vacation, you want to know somebody is going to take care of your garden as well as you do. So that's something that we're really excited to be doing this year.
And then this is a new process then. Oh, nice. Then it is building that community. Like you said, you're checking up on your neighbor. You have that interaction with your neighbor outside. And then you guys are both, I guess, working together towards your goal. So would you say your organization relies very heavily on volunteers as the new one?
Yes. We, including Chicago Partnership for Health Promotion. You all have been historically our best volunteers. All of the kits that we put together for the schools, the over 4,000, those are all done by individual volunteers. So it's bagging soil, it's taping boxes, it's labeling and stickering. And this year we've had a lot of success in bringing in volunteers. The last few years as we were getting started was a little bit harder, and CPHP really came through to help make sure that the work happened.
Yeah. So let's say an organization wants to build rapport with team building. It's because it sounds like, based on everything that you're saying, it does build community. And we also want to build community within the workplace that we do work at. So how can an organization that is interested in, coming to you guys as a team building, what's the process like, and what would they get out of that?
One of the best parts about being a new organization and a small organization is we have a lot of flexibility in what we do and how we do it. And I really love that. And so what that means is we're actually really able to tailor whatever a team building event looks like for a group of people. What we've done in the past is brought fabric bags and soil and compost and had people build their own kits. We've talked about how it impacts health. the nutrition benefits, but also just the having a plant benefit of being outside more, of being more physically active, of feeling self-empowered, of watching your hard work grow, literally. So we talk about those sorts of things. And so it's some about like the actual team building, but it's more about like the being present, the building a garden together, the embracing of the soil and the plants.
Yeah, I think that's important to just build community within the organization as well. And then also, if you have the opportunity to help your community outside of work, build their garden as well. Because, like I said, there's a lot of benefits. It's not only physical activity. I remember telling my participants, it doesn't always necessarily mean physical activity. Like you have to go to a gym, you have to work out, you have to it's like little chores that you do and little activities that you do that all coming together. It's physically moving you. So it's all part of the process. So find something that you enjoy. And if it's gardening, great. You get a healthy out of it, like physical activity and a food or something. And then if you bring somebody along with you, it's just like mentally also stimulating.
I think it's the Blue Zones Project has shown that pretty much every community that sort of lives to over 100 has some sort of gardening component in their daily lives, and also community component. And so that is a big thing that we try and promote is like, yeah, it's not just about the fact that you get healthy food out of it. Yeah. You get food that tastes better, but you really are getting this overall the healthy mind-body experience of being in the soil, of being outside, of experiencing that delicious food.
Yeah, and just seeing the reward of seeing something you took care of for such a long time and to see it like blossom at the end, that's very satisfying.
Yeah,
You could
forces
go
you to
from
be patient.
a single,
Patience, yeah.
a single, I guess, grow kit to having a home garden installation within years if you are.
And that's actually a lot of what we try and do, right? We bring the kits to schools. We hope that the kits then get the kids excited, who get the parents excited, who get their parents excited, because often what's happened is grandparents gardened or farmed, and then it sort of got lost. And so now the kids are learning it in school and they want to bring it to grandma and grandpa's house, and then they want to go there because their grandma and grandpa have a garden. And so we want to make sure that we're engaging every generation and making sure that the older knowledge doesn't get lost and actually gets passed down through families, because that's, there's nothing better than learning from your mom or grandma to me how to pick a strawberry.
Yeah, I know I've mentioned this before.
Right.
But my grandfather, he loves to garden, and especially because he's been retired for many years. Winters are long in Chicago. So when spring comes, summer comes, he harvests. The joy I see of him just sharing what he has with all his grandchildren and children, showing us how he did it, just standing there listening to the process, even though I have no idea what's going on, but I see the joy and just connecting that, how you said, like starting little just to have that generational connection. That's beautiful.
And also it makes me think that it helps with like trying to change a healthy behavior, because I think sometimes when you're trying to change something, the people around you have a say a little bit. Because if you're like, I'm eating healthy, and someone's like, oh, you're eating healthy today, you're eating a salad. But if you have everybody invested or interested in something like that, it does have a further change, I would say, in changing your health behavior as well, too.
Yeah. And I'm assuming you all know that like when a kid has a choice, or when they have the investment in it, right? Like when they've done it, they're more likely to participate. They're more likely to eat it. They're more likely to enjoy it. Yeah. And that's just way more fun too.
Yeah. This also brings up a little question that I do have. So working in the community, especially in the west side or the south side, you see a lot of like abandoned lots. How do you guys work in trying to, I guess, start these up and then make them into some sort of home gardening or gardening in general for the community?
Not yet.
Not yet, but it's a goal.
Maybe.
Okay.
We're still trying to figure out that balance of not stepping on other organizations' toes, right? Also, a lot of those lots are owned by the city or development, and so they just like haven't started. So they may look abandoned, but they're actually not. So it gets a little bit harder. One thing that we have sort of thought through is how do we kind of take some of those maybe abandoned lots and used the grow bags, even small, even medium-sized ones, to just fill it in until the development happens. I know in Humboldt Park, they actually had a community garden, and then the alder person sold it. And so they had to take out the community garden, and then I think the condos or apartments went in. And so it's really, how do we utilize those spaces maybe not forever, but really encourage people to see it. It beautifies the space. So we are trying to figure out what that looks like and that balance of where we fit into that system. One thing we are trying to do, especially with these block level, is create more localized efforts around this. So ideally one day we can pay community residents to sort of be the community expert, to go to people's houses and do technical assistance on gardens and say, let's test your soil, let's see when you're ready to harvest. But then also maybe have a community garden space they can also run to do education, to bring people together. And so that's sort of some of our longer term, big picture dreams is really that community level work.
Okay. Before we end this, let our audience know where they can reach you, the services, organizational websites, social media pages, and anything you would just like to promote.
Chicago Grows Food everywhere. So chicagogrows.org, at Chicago Grows Food on Instagram and Facebook, chicagogrowsfood@gmail.com. Check out our Instagram. I'm the one who does all the posts, and I'm pretty proud of it. So I like when people look at it and tell me how great I am. And then sign up for our newsletter. I am the one sending out the emails. I do not have the capacity to spam. So you receive monthly newsletters with upcoming gardening events, with recipes, with just activities that are needed for the garden during that time. And then this year we started a monthly lunch and grow where we have, we showcase an expert and talk about something that's happening in the garden at that time. And then we record them all, put them on our website under the resources page. And in June, we had Miriam from Eat Move Save, and she did a recipe with kale and beets and then a bruschetta. And I've already made the bruschetta because it looked so good and was so easy. And we talked about harvesting, and because it's June, you can start harvesting. You can still plant if you want. June's a great time for gardening because you can do everything. And so July will be similar. We'll talk about harvesting. We'll talk about cooking. And then in August, we'll talk about succession planting. So how do you finish harvesting what's happened in the summer and plant new things so that you have them into the fall? Last year, some of the team were growing into January because what happens with certain plants is they actually do better with cold and they taste better. And so I think it was their kale just became a little bit sweeter after November got really cold, but then it got just warm enough that it survived. And then they had some of the best kale that they've had in a while. So I'm fighting the myth that you can only garden in Chicago in the summer. You can garden in Chicago at least 6 to 8 months a year.
That's a great tip because I didn't even know that.
Yeah. Me too.
That's great to hear. We really appreciate you being here. Thanks for listening to Healthier Habits with your hosts, Cassandra Zumba
And Yakwachi.
We hope you enjoyed this conversation. Keep an eye out for more episodes and make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell.
Here at CPHP, we have the Eat Move Save Meal Kit. This is an e-commerce project dedicated to improving and resolving access to healthy and affordable foods through a meal kit, which is packaged and delivered directly to a family's home throughout Chicago through Topbox. Visit our Eat Move Save website for more information on meal kit ordering and delivery.
You can help support the podcast by liking, sharing, and subscribing, following us on our social media accounts on Instagram as Eat Move Save Chicago, Facebook Eat Move Save Chicago, and YouTube as UIC Ocean HP. Look for the podcast tab for more episodes.
If you'd like more information on partnering with our organization, head over to our website, cphp.uic.edu, and send us a message.
Thank you for joining this chat. Check out our links and resources in the description. See you next time.
Bye.
This institution is an equal opportunity provider. This material is funded by the USDA Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, SNAP, Chicago Partnership for Health Promotion is a unit of the Office of Community Engagement and Neighborhood Health Partnerships, representing a network of community-based interventions designed to improve nutrition and reduce disparities in outcomes associated with nutritional diseases, including obesity. CPHP provides high-quality, age, gender, and culturally tailored nutrition education in various venues across the city.
Eat, Move, Save.